The ivy leaf has long been seen as the symbol of Manchester High. We see it everywhere, on uniform, on sports kit, on booklets and on publicity material. Nowadays, girls, past and present, like to refer to themselves as Ivies. So we thought it would be interesting to look back into the archive to find out more about the origin of the ivy leaf symbol. It all goes back to what now, in 2021, we would call PR and establishing the school's corporate identity. When the school was first founded in 1874, there was no school uniform and no school badge. As Manchester High was the only academic girls' school in Manchester at the time, it had no need to distinguish itself from other establishments. But by 1898, when Sarah Burstall became the second headmistress, the situation had changed. Although the school had a brand new building in Dover Street, opposite the university, the number of pupils at Manchester High fell from over 500 in 1890 to about 350 in 1898. As a result, the school had a deficit of £1,000 a year. The reality was that middle-class families were moving out from the centre of Manchester. New schools had been built in the suburbs, which offered a good academic education with easier access. What's more, in the 1890s, Britain faced a period of severe economic depression. Industrial towns, such as Manchester, were particularly badly affected. Manchester High drew many of its pupils from the manufacturing classes, and fathers saw the school fees for their daughters as an expendable drain on the family budget. So Sarah Burstall embarked upon what can only be described as a publicity campaign to promote the school. The first issue to be addressed was the school's corporate identity. Manchester High didn't have a badge, and it was probably due to Sarah Burstall's initiative that the ivy leaf was introduced as the school's emblem. A note appeared in the school magazine of 1899. It is desired that we should choose some flower or leaf as a school badge. Ivy has been proposed. We should be glad of letters and suggestions on the subject from any of our girls, past or present. It isn't recorded who suggested adopting an ivy leaf, but Fanny Harrison, a teacher who was in service at that time, later wrote to Sarah Burstall's successor, Dr. Mary Clark, explaining that it had been chosen because an ivy leaf means faithfulness to you, to the school, and to themselves. Fanny Harrison, usually known as Fanny Harrison, is important in the story of the ivy leaf. She was one of the first pupils to be admitted to Manchester High in 1874. She left school formally as a pupil in July 1878 and began to teach in the preparatory school in October of that year. She was a student teacher from January 1879 to January 1880, and then was appointed mistress to a form in the preparatory school. She left in 1925 and later worked as a missionary in Africa. Fanny Harrison maintained close links with the school and was a loyal member of the Old Girls Federation, serving several times as president. The Old Girls Federation gave a party to celebrate her 90th birthday in 1950 and presented her with a brooch of an ivy leaf surrounded by other ivy leaves in recognition of her service. She left the brooch to the Old Girls Federation in her will in 1954, and it became the badge of office of the president of the London Society of the Old Girls Federation. The first pupils to wear an ivy leaf as a badge were the members of the hockey team. In 1901, it was decided that members of the first hockey team, after having played well in 3 or 4 successive matches, should have the right to wear a special badge. It represented the ivy leaf with the initials MHSG HC for Manchester High School for Girls Hockey Club, embroidered in 3 monograms in yellow silk. The badge was designed by Ethel Greengrass of the Senior 6th. Sadly, we don't have one of these badges in the archive. Today, the ivy leaf still appears on the school sports kit. But the archive holds lots of images and artefacts showing the ivy leaf in all sorts of different contexts throughout the decades. Today, the head girl and her deputies are presented with ivy leaf brooches at the beginning of their term of office. The head girl's badge is in silver, and the deputies' badges are enamelled in green. Traditionally, on Founders' Day, the staff wear an ivy leaf on their academic gowns. Some old girls will remember that girls too used to wear an ivy leaf on Founders' Day. The first mention of this in the archive is in the school magazine of 1902. The School Chronicle tells us that on Founders' Day almost everyone wore a piece of ivy symbolical of the badge chosen for the school. The Chronicle also points out that as Founders' Day is in January, ivy was a perfect choice. There is not, as a rule, an abundance of flowers in January, and it must have been a difficult matter to select a badge for this time of year. Ivy was a very happy choice. In this photo, taken at Founders' Day in the Whitworth Hall in 1947, you can see that the girls are wearing ivy leaves pinned to their uniforms. The photo was donated by Margaret Walker, pupil from 1942 to 1949. She kept a detailed scrapbook of her time at Manchester High, and this photo is taken from there. Margaret recalls that the ivy leaves were provided by none other than Fanny Harrison. We've already looked at the letter she sent in January 1929 to Dr. Clark, in which she also writes, "I have sent off this morning 620 sprays of ivy for the dear old school, with my love." And she adds, "There's a special spray for you." This is quite a remarkable and touching expression of Fanny's affection for the school and her attachment to the ivy leaf symbol, especially since she tells us that most of the ivy was picked in a snowstorm. And for many years she continued to send ivy leaves from her garden in Lewes by train in time for Founders' Day celebrations. Although the design may have changed over the years, the ivy leaf has remained the enduring emblem of the school. We know that girls past and present are deeply attached to it as a symbol of the school community. Long may it continue.